we all went to the same church, I think, because the preacher told me a long time ago, he said, come early and get a back seat, so I can tell the people that got here early. I've been, my family has lived here with me in Hoke County for many years. My wife and I bought a farm out in West Hoke County in 1987, and so I'm somewhat of a farmer, kind of a retired farmer. I spent 25 years in the Navy, a Navy officer, and been around the world. And no place I'd rather live than Hoke County. It's a good county to live in, good people, and I'm very happy to be here. There are several things that I would like to cover tonight, and I'm sure we'll be doing that with the questions, but I'll be very brief. I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about planning. I have several degrees. I've got a BA and a bachelor's degree in sociology with a concentration in urban affairs and minority affairs. Secondly, I have a master's degree and this is the important one, in planning, strategic planning. And that's one of the things I want to talk about tonight, and I'll be talking through my campaign, is planning. We really need some serious planning here in Hoke County. We've got tremendous growth, you know that, I know that, and we need to send that growth in the right direction. So we need to do that now. Our plan is 17 years old, I think. We need to update that, and I'm got a plan to do that. Secondly, I want to talk about schools. There's nothing more important in this town than schools, or in this county than schools. And the school board, it's very important who you elect to the school board, because the school board is the one that determines how many schools we need, where they should be, etc. So think of that when you're voting for school board. It's the county commissioners that need to figure that out. And thirdly, I want to talk about law enforcement.
Thank you, Mr. Funk.
Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, I want to make sure y'all understand that this hat is not a fashion statement. I've been telling people that for the last week or so. Last Tuesday, I had outpatient surgery, and the doctor wanted me to keep my head from being exposed for the next 14 days. So it's not a fashion statement, it's a necessity. Good evening again. When I was elected in 2014, I came on the board because I was able to listen to the citizens and some of the things that they wanted. And when I listened to the citizens, I was able to deliver, along with these two gentlemen here and two other commissioners, on the things that mattered to Hoke County. Specifically speaking, we were able to bring a $27 million aquatic center that's going to open up in December. This aquatic center is going to be the first Parks and Rec center in Hoke County. We never had a Parks and Rec center in Hoke County, so we're going to be able to bring that. We're also going to be able to bring a $31 million Justice Center. That money was funded last year along with the help of volunteers and the state representative. We are getting ready to build a $78 million high school. The high school is going to be funded by the county commissioners, but we hope that the candidates for school board, like Captain Blue, when she get on the board, to help us place it in the right place because of the growth of Hoke County. So we're going to need people like that to help us in partnership to make sure that the school system works in the place it needs to work. Also, we've been working really hard. When Hoke County got in trouble about 2 years ago with our law enforcement, Sheriff Peterkin came to me and said, we need to do something to retain law enforcement. We were able to, at that particular time, me, myself, and these two other guys, and two other commissioners who's not here, were able to give our law enforcement a historic 15% raise. So we've been delivering since we've been on the board in 2014, and Tony has been delivering before then. We ask that you keep us on the board so we can keep on delivering.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Hunt. Come December, I'll be been serving on this board for 20 years altogether, 16 years in a row. Just want to say that I didn't grow up in Hoke County. I moved here from military also. In 1989 is when I started having my residency here in Hoke County, and I've been here ever since. As I said, I'm a veteran. I'm a graduate of Campbell University. And I'd just like to say that I was talking to one of my gentleman right before this program began, and his comment to me was, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. And I kind of thought about that on my way up here and sitting here now contemplating it. And, you know, when we look at the direction that Hoke County is going in, we are one of the fastest growing counties there is. And we've been working hard to provide the things that we need to provide for this county to grow and have smart growth. And yes, we need to work some on our plan, and we're in the process of doing that, but we have a good plan that people put together about 20 years ago, and they put a lot of thought into it. It took them a while to get it together, and some of those folks are still here today and seeing that plan go through, the land use plan. But what I would like to say is we put infrastructure in. We have sewer now, county sewer. We've got 2 big projects that we've committed some of the ARP money to, and we're going to be able to finish those projects. It's going to bring sewer to Rockfish, and we're going to do some great things in the years to come. And we look forward to serving you. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Good afternoon. My name is Alan Thomas. I currently serve as the chairman of the Hoke County Board of Commissioners. It is my honor to run for re-election. You know, we've already heard from 2 of the county commissioners on many of the things that we've done over the years, so there's no need to keep hammering that down. You know, I think people in the audience recognize the growth that we've experienced. They recognize the fact that people are moving over here in droves for a reason. And of course, it's not just because we have low taxes, because more counties' taxes are lower than ours. It's because we've developed an environment, an atmosphere where we have low taxes, we have low crime, and we have schools that are doing well. You know, if you want to look at Fayetteville schools, and you're going to look at the grades, you will pick Hoke County schools every single day. You know, so I'm proud of the work that we've done here in Hoke County. So moving forward, what are my goals for another term? I want to see a bowling alley come to Hoke County. I want to see a sit-down restaurant come to Hoke County. I want to begin looking and recruiting and setting aside an incentive package to attract big box retail. And what I'm saying isn't just dreams, because if you go back 8 years ago, the things that we just talked about that we achieved are things that we said we were going to do back then. So these are the things that I'm serious about doing. You know, so if you don't see a bowling alley coming soon, you know, get on me. Hey, Commissioner Thomas, what's up with that? You know, of course, county commissioners, we don't open bowling alleys. We don't open restaurants. But what we do is we develop relationships with people who have the capacity to do that. And so when people are complaining about who we have relationships with, these are the people who are going to open the businesses that you all want. So with that being said, I look forward to this debate over the next hour or two. Thank you all so much.
So let's give all these gentlemen let's get down to questions. So now that we know who you are, could you tell us why we should vote for you? And if you are elected, what would be the biggest issue that you would want to tackle or challenge that you'd like to address if you are elected or re-elected to the county commission?
So, kind of in my opening statement, I identified 2 of the priorities. The first is education. We need to pay our teachers. I'm talking with Ruben Castellone. He's going to be our next school board. You know, we're looking at a 14% teacher pay to get in equity with Moore County. About 20% of their student spending comes from the county. In Hoke County, it's 6%. You know, we can do better for our teachers, we can do better for our students, and ultimately for our parents, who are the customers of the education system. And then the priority is jobs. Okay, a big box store, a sit-down restaurant, that's fine, but to work in Hoke County for above minimum wage or $15 is the wage for a government employee in Hoke County. Big box store is going to be minimum wage, slightly above. All right, we have to do better. We have to create the environment through taxes and through regulation and through zoning and planning that would bring actual careers. You know, last time in the primary we had a debate up here, or a discussion, and we won't call it a debate, and I brought up that Amazon is building a center over in Fayetteville. Well, the excuse was that we were 10 miles away from the interstate and Hoke County can't attract that type of business. Well, actually, we're 9.8 miles from this school right here to that center. I did it. I did my homework. So 10 miles is not an excuse. The problem is we're talking about the plan use that's 20 years old. That plan calls for Hoke County to become a subdivision. That's all we are. We're attracting federal workers and soldiers from Fort Bragg to come to Hoke County, pay property taxes, and unfortunately, a lot of them don't reside here. They don't change their vote here, so they have no say in the future that we want to create in Hoke County. So support teachers, education, and let's get some careers in Hoke County.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
It's the same question. I mentioned it earlier, there's been a tremendous amount of growth in Hoke County, primarily because the Fort Bragg has expanded so much. 2 major commands have moved to Fort Bragg. The size of special forces has tripled. And you can look at all the construction, housing that is being constructed all over the county. And everywhere I roam, people say, well, it seems so willy-nilly. It seems like there's no plan. If you look through these new subdivisions, you'll see places that they have no sidewalks for kids to play on. A requirement that hasn't been waived. Sidewalks were common a few years ago, and they've been waived, presumably to save the contractor money. And that's just one of the examples of some of the planning that we need to do. Where are the parks that these subdivisions should have within them? Where are those? Where are the places for kids to play? And it's all about planning. Planning is so vital to us. And like it was mentioned before, the planning process was 20 years ago, but nobody envisioned the growth that we're having now. We need to plan for that. We're behind in our plan for that. We're 15 years behind in our plan. So we need to catch up on that. And in our plans, we should have places for people to play, kids to play. We need better schools, and our schools many of them are way overcrowded. We need to reduce that. That's going to cost a lot of money that, frankly, we've spent on other things. And we need to get the schools squared away first, because that is our absolutely vital thing that we must accomplish, is getting the schools squared away, because that is our future. And I see my time is up, so I'm going to pass that on to Mr. Sutherland.
Great question. The reason why I think I should be reelected is because of my report card. And I just told you earlier, when you go down the list that we've done over the last 8 years, we should receive an A on our report card. We built several buildings. We've actually brought in infrastructure. We got a $17 million plus sewer plant that's actually bringing in more money as we build more houses. So we're going rapidly. But the 3 things I think we need to work on now is that we have to build this $78 million plus high school. Now, as commissioners, we're going to decide the money amount, and we're going to fund it. And we already have the funding in place to move forward with this type of building. We're going to have to work closely with our school board in terms of placement, because that's going to be a key. The eastern part of the county is growing the fastest, so we got to look at that in terms of population-wise, in terms of where we want to put our schools, as well as a new elementary school. Thank you.
Repeat the question, please.
So, what are the big priorities that you identify as you are reelected after the election? What do you identify as the big challenge for yourself as a reelected candidate?
I think one of the first things that's been mentioned here quite often is schools. I'm a former school employee here in Hoke County for about the last 10 years. I just moved out of the school system about 5 months ago to work with my local tribe. And the 6% that we're talking about that teachers receive from the county, and is the only money that the teachers receive from the county, is a supplement. And that supplement comes from the county, and it's given to the school system, and they give it out twice a year. That supplement of 6% is about 2% off of what the statewide supplement is to schools. And statewide is about 8.5 if you average them all out. You're talking about raising something to 14% on a 6% on a supplement. That means that 6% that goes to each one of those teachers compared to whatever their salary is. So that's going to be a whole lot of money. I don't see how it's going to 14%. But we do need to work with our school system. We need to continue to work with our school system as we've been working with them in the past. We need to continue to help furnish them with the funds that they need to build the new schools that they need to build. As been mentioned, we're working closely with them. We worked hard to get $50 million from the state to work on this high school addition that we're working on, that we've been given by the school board to do, and we're putting some of our money with it. So when we work with schools, we work with what the school board requests of us of what is their priority. So we will continue to work with the school system. That's my top priority.
So my top priority is to continue doing the work to attract jobs. Of course, I'm proud of the work that we've done. Most of the incentives that we've given by law, we had to do it in closed session. So one of the most difficult things about running for office is when people criticize you about things that they know little about. But that's when you have to have tact. You have to be able to be patient. And you have to be able to hopefully try to inform. And so there are many jobs that are here now because of the work that we've done. Working closely with the governor's office in the state of North Carolina. We're going to continue that to be ready where there's giving money in a matching grant with the state and the governor's one grant, or utilizing our revolving loan where we're able to give incentives to businesses that want to open up in Hoke County that will create jobs. That money is dependent on the jobs actually coming. So we don't just give out money and hope they come. Every incentive that I've supported is because the jobs actually came. And so while I'm proud of the fact that our unemployment rate is lower than Cumberland County's, I also recognize that there's still work to be done. So on top of continuing to strengthen our economy and job market, I want to do a little bit more when it comes to parks and recreation. I'll tell you what I say in private. I'm not quite happy. I want to make sure that our children from kindergarten to 12th grade has a robust parks and recreation department. And it starts with us. Our young people, they have to fall in love with something. Because if they don't fall in love with something, what happens is we lose them to the streets. For me, it was baseball. I remember every day I had a game at Burlington Park. I was so nervous, I couldn't wait to go. Because I loved playing baseball. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure our children fall in love with something that Thank you.
To everyone in the audience and to the timekeeper, I have been notified that we're going to be generous and extend the amount of time from the 90 seconds to 2 minutes. So hopefully that will give you a little more time to share your thoughts. And again, that was shared with me by the hostess, Ms. McClain. So hopefully that will ease some of the stress and perhaps anxiety that you might have felt trying to make your response succinct. So having said that, I'd like to just say that we recognize that commissioners carry a great deal of responsibility that the public trusts you with. And that is a privilege. 3 of the areas that have been identified that commissioners have a responsibility for: setting policy, ensuring that management is in place, and also for setting a budget. This next question has to do with what policy changes or investments are necessary from your view, from your perspective, whether you are an incumbent or seeking the seat, what would you do to encourage broader employment here in Hoke County? Speak to economic development.
So first thing, and I've thought long and hard about this, it's like, what does Hoke County need? First, we need infrastructure. If somebody that wanted to bring a facility here that would employ hundreds of people, there's no place to put it. Now, we're just now, after the economic district that we have out with the closed ethanol plant, we're just now 8 years later, talking about getting sewer run to that facility. That's the problem right now that we're encountering, is we don't have any long-term strategic planning. And that's what I want to do. Sit down with the Economic Development Board, sit down with the Zoning Board, look at where, it makes sense to create the infrastructure for those commercial and those industrial zones so that we can bring those jobs to the county. Because at the end of the day, houses are not going to pay the bills. Okay? The property tax that we're raising is not going to pay the bills for all of this stuff that we have in the works and in the progress. So we need to get a diversified economic base. We need to be able to look at different revenue streams. And one thing that I find disheartening is this county is stuck on grant money. A lot of our funding is grants. We need a sustainable source of income through taxes, through revenue, so that we can get away from grants, because grants come and go. When we're talking about raising people's salary using grant money, that grant goes away. What then to that employer? Are we going to fire them? Are we going to reduce their wage? No. We're going to look at the taxpayer to make up the difference. So that's what I'm talking about planning. We have to have a robust economy here in Hoke County outside of just housing. And we can do that through planning, and as well as the Economic Development Board. I would send them to Seattle to talk to Boeing, talk to Amazon. I would send them down to South Carolina to talk to Mercedes-Benz. Why aren't we reaching out to these industries and saying, this is a great place to live. This is a great place for you to come in and establish your headquarters or establish a facility, and let's put these people to work. So I think that's the type of outside-the-box thinking. 25 years in the military, faced with a problem, you've got one solution doesn't fit. One solution doesn't work every time. You have to have some outside-the-box thinking, some dynamic ideas, and that's what I bring to the table, that experience. Thank you.
Planning. Again, let me harp on that planning. Some years ago, the county went over flipped over backwards, trying to get that ethanol plant in here. At the same time, they were closing ethanol plants in Iowa because it wasn't economically feasible. Well, it was a good try to get some industry in here. But if you talk to the economic planning people, the economic folks, they tell you, or that their duty is to expand industry and business in the county. One of the large things that has kept us back is the sewer system. And fortunately, there's been a grant to give us enough money to do the sewer system, to study the sewer system and do the engineering out at that the ethanol plant area, that industrial park. So that was a classic mistake, I think. But so be it. We all make mistakes. But again, we need to do planning. My idea is to go out and gather all the business people in the county and talk to them. Ask them, why don't you go out and talk to your suppliers? Why don't you go out and talk to your customers? Tell them what a good deal it is to live and breathe in Hoke County. They can do that. They'd be glad to do that. That brings us to open meetings, and that was mentioned a little bit earlier, that some things are done behind closed doors. The Carolina open meeting laws, for the most part, require that the personnel items be behind closed doors, and that's about it. So, and you take some of the decisions that are made. I I don't know how many people were in the decision process for, let's say, the swimming pool. I'm all about parks and recreation, but how many people knew that was going to happen before it was finally announced? A big wowie thing, you know, a pool. So we're missing a lot of things in our planning process here in Hoke County, and we're missing public input into it. That's what we need. People out here, you should be telling the county commissioners, you should be telling government what needs to be done, what you need, what you want. And that will bring industry, that will bring schools, that will bring a big boom to Hoke County.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Thomas, you're correct. It's important when candidates that run for office need to know the facts about what they're talking about. The first thing is, if you're talking about infrastructure, we have a $17 million wastewater treatment plant right now in Hoke County, been here since 2014, finished in 2015, and expanded in 2021. We have that right now. The other funds we're getting, grant funds, is to expand the area for the ethanol plant. So that's a grant for the ethanol plant. We actually spent almost $17 million on wastewater treatment, and we have a plant actually in existence. And that's what's going on in that area, in Arabia Road, the Rockfish area, Philippi Church Road. All those areas have plenty of sewer. The sewer actually is going to 401, so we have sewer, so that's not the issue. The second thing Mr. Holland said was, we're getting ready to raise property taxes. That is not true. Since I've been on the board since 2014, we not only did not raise property taxes, this past budget, we lowered property taxes. We actually lowered property taxes. Check the minutes. We lowered property taxes. The third thing it was, grant money is not good. What do you mean grant money is not good? Grant money is free money that you can use to help you operate your county. If it wasn't for the state of North Carolina giving us a $31 million grant, that's how we want to build the courthouse. If it wasn't for the state of North Carolina giving us a $50 million grant, that's the money we're going to help use to build a high school. We need all the grant money we can receive. How dare you say we should receive grant money and not use it? And we don't use grant money for salaries. That's unheard of. People, when they run for office, speak the facts. That's the best way to get elected, speaking with truth and with integrity. So you don't have to come here and say things are not true, because everything you just said is absolutely 100% false. So I'm telling that to your face so you can see me. I'm talking directly to you. That's important. And that's how we got to move things. We got to make sure that we, as citizens, know the facts when we go to the polls and vote. Vote whoever you want to vote for, but vote based on the facts. The fact is, Hoke County is doing very well, and there's nothing anybody running for office really can say bad about Hoke County. The growth is positive growth. We get more, I would say, thankfulness and gratefulness from people outside our county than people from within our county.
Thank you. Let me interject. Just as a reminder, everyone, for the candidates, just a reminder to remember the rules. I thank everyone for your attention. We want to remain as civil and respectful as possible. With regard to making sure that the public has an opportunity to get information, you may want to direct them to points of interest where they can gather additional information if they should have further questions.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
We put in your hands cards for those of you who wanted them in terms of being a part of this community conversation. If you've written a question for the candidates, I will pick up your cards now.
All right. And thank you, Mr. Hunter, for allowing me to.
One thing that I really want to stress here tonight of retaining employees is that for everyone to understand that a little over a year ago, we made a pledge that with this upcoming budget that we just enforced at July 1, that no entry-level employee would come into Hoke County working full-time that would start off under $15 an hour. That's what the federal wage limit is, minimum wage. And that's what we adopted here in Hoke County for our upcoming budget. We met those goals. We put all of those things in place in our new budget that came out this year. And that's where those salaries are at. And that's at the lowest entry level, is at $15 an hour. The other thing I want to mention is that we do things through our incentive program as far as helping employees with their medical insurance. We do things like that. We don't require our employees to pay any type of percentage of their medical insurance as far as for themselves. Now, if they had a family member on, they have to pay some for that. But we cover it all for our employees. That's another good thing. There's other municipalities and counties that are requiring their employees to pay a percentage of their health insurance because of health insurance continuing to rise. So that's another thing that we do to help retain. To help continue to grow this county, we have to be realistic about, when we talk about, I heard Amazon mentioned and what's being built in Fayetteville. If you ride on 295 and look at that massive building that they're building there, when you think about recruiting a big business like that, you got to think about also that what these folks look for is, they don't look for just to build a business, but they want to make sure that they've got enough citizens in that surrounding area within certain miles to be able to be employed and run that business and have the technology and the knowledges of being able to do that. And we're getting there with our CTE programs in our high school, and we'll continue to help support that program with our school system.
Thank you. I forgot the question, but I do have some thoughts. First of all, Commissioner Stevens, you got hyped up on that one, man. Yeah, but I can understand your frustration. Like I said earlier, what it feels like when you're running for office and you have people stating things that are not true, you don't know for a fact that they're doing it on purpose or if it's simple misinformation. You know, I don't know what your professions are, but say I've never worked a day in your profession, whether you're a teacher or a physician, and I'm trying to tell you everything you should be doing without actually having the education. It's difficult for anybody. You know, so yes, it's difficult for us. Every time I hear something that's difficult for me to hear, I write it down. You know, for example, our land use plan is 17 years old. It's a 20-year plan. It's a 20-year plan. You know, so it's not that it's 27 years old. You plan out for 20 years. That's how land use plans work. I hear that when you go into closed session, personnel is pretty much the only thing that you can go into closed session for in meetings. There are 6 things that you can go into closed session for, with economic development being one of them. If someone comes to us for an incentive, they don't want their competitor to know, you know, before they get it approved, so that their competitor can buy the land up under them and get it first. You know, it's so much. You know, when the last time we had this forum here, I talked about Amazon, and a lot of big businesses want to be located within 10 miles of a major interstate. But instead, here in this forum, a gentleman said that we are 9.6 miles from the Amazon facility. That's not what we said. You know, that Amazon facility is within 2 miles of I-95, which is a major interstate. You know, parks should be in neighborhoods. You know, a free market Republican conservative is saying that developers, when you build a neighborhood, we're going to force you to spend an additional $250,000 on a park. I mean, that's something. Especially when we're dealing with affordable housing issues. You know, you don't get the phone calls where people don't have a place to stay because they can't afford it. We do. You know, what do you do when somebody's calling you, I have nowhere to go, and everywhere where it's available I can't afford? What you do is you make developers build parks inside of it. You make developers put sidewalks. That's counterintuitive, folks. This is tough to listen to. Thank you.
So everyone, we had those questions that were shared with me to pull from for the candidates. I'd like to now open the floor up for some questions from those of you here. So if you would provide me at least 2 questions. And if it's okay with the candidates, I'd like to rotate from which direction we start with responding to the question. Okay, so as we all see, I'm just getting these questions. All right, so, and if I miscapture what you're asking, I think it makes sense to give you an opportunity to clarify what it is you were trying to communicate. Instead of remodeling the current high school, would you pledge to build a new high school in either the west or the east if the Board of Education supported it? Did I capture that question correctly?
Yes.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, zero. Get the cameras out with the video. People don't really have a good pulse. You know, every time, and this ain't my first rodeo, I've won 5 of these things. You know, people are very passionate about things, and they live in an echo chamber. We are not going to build a new high school with Hoke County High School in the dilapidated state that it's in now. It's not going to happen. You know, so if your plan is fix the high school, bring it up to date, and then build another high school, I can understand it. It makes perfect sense. But what it says is that your child or people that you care the most about live in an area that will benefit from a new school. People who live in all the rest of the areas of Hoke County, where their children and grandchildren will go to Hoke County High School, they will not benefit from a new high school. But what we're going to do is we're going to fix Hoke County High School. We're going to make it what it should be. And then once we do that, if growth continues, because as you've heard, there are people who are actively planning for a charter school. If growth continues, then we will have the capacity to build another high school in the future. But we will not be like other counties that has to consolidate schools because of poor planning and poor management. That will not happen in Hoke County. Thank you.
I would technically first say yes to that question because normally what the school board brings to us and tells us where the need is at, and that's what I, myself personally, have followed. But the reason that I would oppose is because first we want to clarify there's no remodeling going on at the high school. It's going to be completely demolishing the old side of the Gibson side of the school, every building except for the library. And then there will be a new building built that will hold over 1,200 students, and it will house the 4 major curriculums: math, science, social studies, and English. And then there'll be a new gymnasium built that we need to build, simply because the one that we have now is not big enough to host events when we go into tournament play and different things like that by being a 4A school. We need a new gym because that one is in bad shape too. That's right, built and said. So what I would say is that we need to continue to follow the good advice that we've been getting with the numbers from our school board, be supportive of what they're doing, and we have built a relationship of trust, that we trust our school board, we trust our superintendent, and we have a trust that they're doing the right thing because they have our children's best interest at heart. So what we're doing is keeping the school in a central location to where kids on the eastern side don't have to drive all the way on the western side to a high school. And the kids living in the westernmost part, 5 points of the county, or 5 points of that, and having to drive all the way to Rockfish to a new high school, or anywhere in the eastern part of the county. So really, it doesn't make sense at this point in time to do a new high school anywhere else, or try to, except right here in the city of Raeford, where we're at. So, you know, and the other thing that we need to be aware of and educated on is the fact of teachers. We're only allocating money for teachers and principals by the number of pupils that we have.
The 2020 census stated that Hoke County had about 54,900 people. And in 2021, we're around 56,000 people in Hoke County. So the numbers certainly say that we need another high school. I do think we need 2 high schools, but I'm not willing to have what we call the Jack Britt high school effect in Hoke County, where one high school is the have high schools and the other high schools that have not. So what I would like to take this $78 million, whatever we put in here, is to make sure that the traditional high school, Hoke County High School, is up to par, up to standard. But I do want to look towards the future at doing a new high school and doing a new elementary. And right now, the growth is in the eastern part of the county. So certainly, after we get the Hoke County High School up to par, I would love to look towards the eastern part of the county for a new high school and a new elementary school.
I am curious how the high school got so dilapidated. Why haven't we seen this coming? The elementary school near us, near where I live, was built in 1948. Correction, 1949. And it still has window air conditioning units hanging out of it. I mean, they work, but they're noisy. Just things like that. We need new schools, and we need new school board members, and we are going to get at least 2 new school board members this year. Ruben Castellan right over there. Raise your hand, Ruben. Ruben is all set to go on this. He's a fine man, and he's going to really do some wonderful things in the school board. So we need that school board to give good advice to our commissioners, and that's why we want to elect him. But the commissioners need to consider a couple things. One, I think we're kicking the can down the road. We need 2 high schools now. How we do that, it's a problem. We should have, the school shouldn't have been dilapidated to begin with. It is, so yeah, it needs fixing. What really concerns me, however, and I think Mr. Hunt mentioned it, or Mr. Sutherland, I forget which, is 2 different kinds of people there going to school, the haves and the have-nots. And that is a real problem, but we can fix that. It's only a problem when we don't recognize it. We can fix that, and it needs to be done. But we need to get two high schools. We need to start working on the other schools. They are overcrowded. Big schools are not good schools. Little schools are better schools. There is a problem with teachers. Yeah, we need them. We'll need more teachers. But we've got to tackle the problem. We've got to do it soon.
So, short answer is absolutely, according to the school board's needs. And I've talked to teachers and administration across the county, and my proposal is we have 2 high schools. We keep the current Hoke County High School with all the outstanding labs and shops, workshops, and we have a CTE dedicated school. Then we have a STEM set dedicated, and we talked about it in 2020. We were talking about a STEM high school. Where did that idea go? Now that we're talking about $78 million to build on to the Hoke County High School. So, just to put it in context, in January, Cumberland County announced $90 million to build a high school with an athletic facility and Olympic competition swimming pools. We're looking at spending $78 million for a high school and $27 million for a swimming/recreation facility. So there again, the planning. Where are our priorities? First off, a basic difference between a conservative and local government right now is there is no such thing as free money. When the government spends a penny, it's one of our pennies. They took it from us. And I want responsible spending of our money. If they can do it next door for $90 million, why are we spending 105? And just to put into context, or to respond to my wildly taken out of context, I never said that this local board has raised property taxes, and they haven't. They actually decreased the rate 1 penny per 100 this last budget. All right? With that being said, grant money. We have to have a sustainable source of income to get away from grants. We see what the federal government is going through right now. You think this inflation they're gonna start keep giving out this free money? Not at all. And there again, free money. It's not free. We, the taxpayer, pay that money. And we, as a local government, have to use that money like it was our own and provide the best quality, the most services for the least cost. And that's what conservatism is really all about, is to have the best services for the lowest price.
Thank you, gentlemen. So we have another question that has been presented for you to respond to. Has the county asked the state to widen 401 to allow better travel? Business needs access to 295 and 95.
So no, the county has not asked the state to widen 401. The state is in the process of widening 211, as you all know. Major project. But so that's the answer. And of course, in the future, 401 will be widened, going on up towards virtual and all that, as the traffic demands. But I asked for a rebuttal, couldn't get it, so I rebutted within my time to this question. Now we're hearing 105 million for the high school. You know, we have to listen closely, folks. Now we're hearing 105 million. We're talking about 90 million for E. Smith, a school that's not even in design yet. You can't price a school that's not even in design yet because you don't know what the inflation will be. So a school that you think would be 90 million, if you don't start the project until 5 years from now, that same school, same size, will be 120 million. You know, so first of all, there is no $105 million project that we're doing. The project is right now 78 million, 78 and some change. Secondly, people talking about Hoke County High School. How many additional students are at Hoke County High School now versus 15 years ago? Anybody want to give it a chance? No one's willing to raise their hand because they don't know. But what they want to say is, in their imagination, they're going to guess higher than what it really is. Let me tell you something. I graduated Hoke County High School 17 years ago. Guess how many people were in my graduating class? 305. Guess how many 12th graders just graduated from high school this past year? 369. You know, so let's just average 50 additional students per grade. You know, it is to think that justifies a new school in and of itself. Yes, we will need a new high school. We will, and we will get one. Hopefully in my lifetime, if I live long enough. We will get a new high school. So I just wanted to address that. It's coming. It is coming. Once the numbers justify it. St. Hope Early College took a lot of that out of the high school. Whenever you pull that amount of students from a high school, what it does is creates a situation where you don't have the same level of overcrowding. And my time is running up, but I had to get that rebuttal. Thank you for allowing me.
Please let the record show that he used his allotted time to address and respond to the question. Same courtesy is extended to everyone as long as you stay within the rules that are set. Is
All
that
right,
right,
yeah,
everyone?
that's right, that's right,
Make sure that that's clear.
absolutely.
So the question is about widening 401, right? The question is, has the county asked the state to widen 401 to allow better travel? And then their side comment was business needs access to 295 and 95.
Well, as Mr. Thomas said, no, we haven't made an official request to DOT. And one of the reasons is because representatives can hardly get them to do any road work, much less a little local county board of commissioners to get them to do anything. It'd be nice to make a request, but I'm pretty sure we're going FY somewhere. But DOT does their own travel studies of vehicles. They study the travel coming in and out of different communities and roads, and the widening of 211 has been on the books for quite some time. Actually, it's been pushed back, if I remember, at least twice, maybe 3 times, and they're finally getting to now acquiring all the right-of-ways and getting ready to widen 211 to Pinehurst, which I think is a great move and will help with the dangerous road that's out there right now. There's been many wrecks on 211, and I think it was the most critical need that we had in our county at the time, because of nothing else, because of safety, and 2, because of the growth that we're starting to have too in the western part of our county. I would love to see them to be respond to us a little quicker on requests that we've made. We've been trying to get some roads widened out in Rockfish because of bad traffic, and some of that is about to take place. Not all that we want to take place, but some of it is taking place because of the efforts that we've had with the citizens in Rockfish and working with them and DOT and trying to help get some of those roads widened that need widening real bad because of the traffic situations that they have. But I foresee 401 growing. It's grown over the years since I've been here, and I know that it will continue to grow as DOT sees fit, but you best assured that county commissioners have no influence at all with DOT on widening any road or getting any road paved. It's totally left up to the mercy of the DOT folks.
I currently serve on a board called FAMPO. That board is the Fayetteville Area Metropolitan Planning Organization Board. And I also serve on a board called the Travel Advisory Board. We call it TAC. They're based out of Pembroke. So one is based in Fayetteville, one is based in Pembroke. And on those boards, we talk about a program called STIP. That's STIP. That's the Statewide Sanitation Improvement Plan. And what it is, and we have a couple of DOT representatives that sit on those boards and kind of tell us the plan for DOT. So these 2 commissioners are exactly right. We can give input, but DOT and Raleigh makes all the major decisions about planning. So right now, the focus for Hoke County is the Rockfish expansion of the roads in Rockfish we're trying to give them to do. And they actually, like Commissioner Hunt said, change those dates and move those dates back to like 2027, 2029. And then also, we're working right now as we speak, 211. So those 2 roads are the major priorities right now going on in Hoke County based on DOT. But we do sit at the table with them, but however they make those decisions in Raleigh in terms of which way they're going. But Hoke County, Highway 401 is in the plan, but we're really talking about 2035, 2040. And when they visited at that time, they may push it back depending on the money, how it can take place.
Mr. Hunt is absolutely right. The Department of Transportation seems to have a mind of their own. I'll give you an example. Out where I live, we've got a very, very bad intersection, and there's 3 stop signs between 5 Points and along Callaway Road. The one intersection is terrible. They have accident after accident. They kill people there, a lot of people. And so the State Department, or the Department of Transportation, put 4-way stops on the other 2 intersections to increase safety, but they left the one where all the accidents occur all absolutely alone. So it's very tough. Now, the problem, 401 is being expanded, and that's good. It's going to bring a lot easier travel, safer travel, and it's going to bring a lot of industry and businesses along that corridor between here and Aberdeen. So it's really a good thing. The problem with it is it's gonna take people's lands away from them. And I feel for those people. There are people being moved from the homes they were born in. And this is being recorded, I think. My wife is the smartest woman in the world. But she and I go round and round on this.
You smart, David.
And she thinks that the government should not be able to take your land, but they have to. They have to. You know, the world's got to move forward. The state's got to move forward. Hoke County has to move forward, and so be it. And 401's a good plan. We didn't ask for it, I'm sure, but it needed to be done, and it's going to be done, and it's about time.
So, yeah, just like everybody says, that is a state function. You know, the Department of Transportation has a timeline. The local boards, local government asks for, identifies a need, but it's ultimately up to the state and their planning boards to implement any kind of expansion or any kind of widening or anything like that. But I did find it interesting that we're talking about the widening of 211. So that was just stated that it's been 5 or 6 years in the process. Why do we have houses, you know, for dozens of families now being condemned? You know, where was that thought process 5 years ago when we let that developer come out here and build these $100,000 homes? You know, do we not know that 211 was in a planning process to get expanded? And then, you know, responding to, you know, you don't know my job. Let me tell you a little bit about me and my government experience. I worked in the mountains of Afghanistan, where we took people with rifles and told them, put their gun down. You're no longer in charge. We're going to give you equal representation. We're going to let these people decide who's in charge. We're going to let these people form the government. Democracy at its basic root. So I know all about government. I know all about working in government and how governments are formed. And believe me, I can identify issues with broken government and identify ways to fix it. And so that's my experience. Am I talking too loud?
No, just settle down. Just settle down.
No, I'm fired up. That's something you will always know from me. I am straight to the point. I will tell you like it is. I will not sugarcoat it. I will not lie to you. I will look you in the eye and tell you the honest to God truth. It hurts sometimes. It might make you mad. It might make you happy. But I will tell you the truth. Transparency. Talking about closed laws. Last night at the board, they did a consent agenda for a budget supplement. You know, an executive summary of what they just proved to be, you know, spent would have been real nice for the audience. But instead, all we see is a line item on an agenda, and they discuss it behind closed doors, and then who suffers the consequences? The taxpayer. Unbeknownst to what's going on, you know, we're the ones that have to deal with the fallout. So, like I said, I'm about transparency. With that being said, I, as a county commissioner, I will implement once a month a town hall style format where you just come and tell me what's going on and we'll talk about it. You might not like my answers, but I will let you know.
Woo, you gentlemen.
I'd like to thank all of you for your responses to the questions, and I'd like to thank you for a hearty discussion in response to the questions. All right, so, of the questions that have been gathered from the audience, ask the question, what are your views on target shooting in residential neighborhoods? Do you think certain hours should be adhered to, and what would those hours be? Did I get the question correct?
Yes, sir. So in real estate, there's something called quiet enjoyment of the property, and I believe in that. You know, if you buy a piece of property and you put your heart and soul and your finances into owning this piece of property, you should be able to enjoy it without your neighbor disrupting your peace of quiet. Now, with that being said, you should also be able to do on your property pretty much what you want to do, as long as it doesn't break the quiet enjoyment of your neighbor. So reasonable zoning ordinances and noise pollution ordinances are reasonable. So, you know, obviously we're not going to have a target range shooting through a wood fence into somebody's backyard. that's just unreasonable. But if you own property and have sufficient standoff so that your bullets your rounds don't leave the property, you know, and then we have reasonable, albeit sundown, people shouldn't really be shooting in the dark anyway. But, so yeah, I think that there's reasonable enjoyment of your property and the latitude to be able to craft those ordinances so that people can enjoy the use of their own property without interfering with their neighbors. Does that answer your question?
Isn't it a shame when we don't have respect enough? Where are the days that we used to respect our neighbors and their needs and their need for quiet and things that are going on in the neighborhood? We have to pass ordinances about it, and the problem is it's a fact of life. I see again, I live in a rural area and I hear gunshot a lot. For the most part, they shoot in the daytime. And I don't have any problem with that. I'm sure somebody that works it from 11 at night to 7 in the morning has a problem with it. But again, you know, the neighbors ought to be able to accommodate even that person. So, you know, we need to respect each other, but we also need to have the right ordinances. If I were to write an ordinance, I would say, you know, in rural areas, okay, 10 o'clock in the morning to before dark, sometime before dark, an hour before dark, whatever. But well, we don't want those ordinances to be overwhelming. To answer the question, yeah, I think we need some ordinances on it. Obviously, we don't need shooting in towns. There ought to be a restriction on how far away houses are from the shooting area. I certainly don't want to ban shooting. Mr. Sutherland.
Thank you. Absolutely no target shooting in neighborhoods. I don't think there's no where you can have target shooting in a neighborhood. You cannot enjoy the peace and enjoyment in the quiet of your home with someone shooting a gun, whether it's 8 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night. Now, there's shooting ranges that can be licensed and certified. Those places you can go to, but you cannot put fire ranges where you have kids and animals. It don't make sense. Now, my opponents are saying that, yeah, you can do it with certain restrictions, but I don't think there's nothing you can do in a neighborhood where the restrictions will be enough other than to not allow it. You cannot allow firearms, all that, in your neighborhoods, close neighborhoods. Now, if you're in the woods or if your home is 2 or 3 miles off the road, that's different. But these subdivisions where these houses are 1,000 yards or feet apart or what have you, then you cannot allow that type of violence or violent behavior in the neighborhood.
One thing I learned quickly when I got elected to this board is that there's always a fine line between doing what is best for everybody. And that's been talked about. It's been talked about having your own property, being able to do what you want to do with your own property, and then having your property that it's been in the family for years and years, and then all of a sudden somebody's putting up a shooting range and going to affect your quality of life that you have maybe in your elder years. So in governing, we have to make tough decisions that balance that out, or try to balance it between the two. And it's very hard to do. But I think that one thing is made clear is that within subdivisions, I don't think that anybody owns enough of property to have a shooting range within subdivisions. I think that what needs to happen is to make sure that those folks have enough property of their own if they're going to have a shooting range. And I think that we have noise ordinances that kind of govern some of those things. And the other thing is that any range, regardless of where it's at, should have time limits on it. I could agree with 10 in the morning to the sundown, and I'm like the rest of the candidates. I don't think anybody should be practicing shooting at night. I don't think that there's any gun owner that needs to know how to shoot with night vision goggles. If they want to do that, they need to go join the Army and be all that they can be and learn how to do that. But, yeah, I think that we need to allow people to use their property for what they want to use it for. And again, how do you draw that fine line to where it doesn't affect the quality of life and the safety of other people? And that's a fine line when you get to trying to draw it. And that's when it becomes tough of sitting in the seats that we sit in. Because at the end of the day, you've got to make that tough decision. As Mr. Allen said one night at our meeting, when you vote on something, on an issue like this, you're going to have some folks that's going to love you. You're going to have some that's going to hate you.
And I stand by that to this day. So I'm not sure the angle of your question, whether the person feels like they should have the freedom to shoot or if it's something that should not happen. So let me just say what the ordinance says. The law that we passed, Hoke County government. In Hoke County, it is unlawful to shoot within 1,000 feet of another dwelling place without the written consent of any dwelling that's within that 1,000 feet radius. So, you know, one thing that I really hate to get is a letter of an elderly person where I call them and they say, sir, they're shooting right behind my house. I'm afraid. You know, a lot of us shoot. I shoot. I see some pretty good hunters in the crowd. One of them can shoot, one of them can't. The one with the hat on over there, he can't shoot. The one in the orange, he can shoot. But we have to recognize that with the growth of our county comes regulations. Where I grew up in, which is in the John Steed Skurlock area, when I was growing up, we'd shoot shotguns off the back of the porch. A bottle like this, we'd be throwing it up in the air and seeing who could shoot. That same house that we still own, if you throw a bottle up and shoot a shotgun, it'll be a SWAT team. It'll be a SWAT team surrounding the property because of the development. So we have to put rules in place like the ordinance that I just announced. There are some exemptions to the ordinance. For example, a turkey shoot, if there's a civic organization that wants to raise money for a nonprofit, I think the Masons in Hoke County on Palmer Street, they have an exemption. There are certain exemptions for hunting. If you have permission to hunt, West Hope Fire Department is having a turkey shoot. They'll be able to shoot, not only shoot within 1,000 feet, but they can shoot at nighttime. So that ordinance is in place. And if anyone here is worried about there being a shooting in their neighborhood, I want to know. So like I said, I don't know if someone asked that question because they're experiencing that, but grab one of us because we need to get the sheriff's office involved because an ordinance is no good if it's not been enforced. You know, and we want to make sure that ordinance is enforced because you should not have to deal with that. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen who are in the audience, I've been given one of the questions to ask from the audience, and I'd like to ask at this time, is it safe to assume that all the candidates who are on the ballot for county commissioner were invited to attend?
Absolutely.
At this time, are there any candidates who, for whatever reason, were not able to attend and made you aware of that? And this isn't being transparent, so that you will be informed that people either notified the host that they have an intent to attend or not attend or something interfered with that.
Yes. So I did hear back from candidate Boyles, Johnny Boyles. He had a prior commitment at his church, so he was not able to make it tonight.
All right. And for the sheriff's race?
I did not hear from candidate Joe, but I did hear from Sheriff Virgil with the conflict.
There you have it. Just so that you have. Okay, would you please stand up so that they can hear that?
I did hear from Sheriff Virgil of his inability to be here. I did not hear back from candidate Joe as to whether or not he was going to participate or not.
For the sheriff's
For
race.
the sheriff.
This question on its face asks, are there resources or assistance for small
So there's federal programs, there's state programs. I'm sure there's local programs. I'm not aware of them specifically, and the commissioners will address that, I'm sure. But I just want to let you guys know, and I'm passionate. I bring the same passion to everything I do. All right, I believe in this county. I believe in the children of this county. I believe in the future of this county. And what I see is this county is headed in the wrong direction. We don't deserve to be a subdivision. We deserve to be a thriving, economically developed, outstanding community to live in. And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to help you, the residents of Hoke County. And this might be my summation. I want to bring the residents of Hoke County. I want jobs. I want our kids to have a great education and bright futures. And I want low taxes and a great place to live. And I want to do that. And out of the context of 105, I never said the high school cost 105. I said there was 2 projects, 78 for a school and 27 for a recreation center. I made the point that Cumberland County is building a combination high school and athletic facility, including Olympic-sized pools, for $90 million. We're paying 105 for 2 facilities that provide the same purpose. So that's the context. And I don't know if maybe I'm talking too fast, I'm talking too loud, or people just aren't hearing what I'm saying. But I will tell you the truth. I will look you in the eye, and I'm not afraid. I will tell you the hard facts. And that's what I'm here to do, is I want to represent you. I want to create that environment that's going to make Hoke County the best place to live in the country, not just North Carolina. Commissioner Leach is always talking about Hoke County's the best county in North Carolina. It is, and it can be better, and it can be better. And the way that it's going right now, it won't stay that way. It's going to just be a big suburb, big subdivision, and we're going to continue to have to send our kids to charter school. $300,000 of our tax money go to Cumberland County schools, where our kids go to charter schools. Their parents bus them across the border. All right, we got to fix that. We need that asset here in this county, and we owe it to our kids. We owe them. This isn't a short-term fix, and I realize that. And we got to get to work now. You know, if we don't start, we'll never get finished. And so I ask you for your vote in November. You know, look at the ballot. Think about Chris Holliday. Think about great education for our kids.
Thank you.
Think about great jobs for us and keeping taxes low. Thank you.
The easy answer is yes. There are plans, or there are ways the various governments assist small businesses. Small business loans, for example. I started a small business construction company. I didn't take out any loans. I didn't do anything. I chose not to use the government because I don't like to use the government for a lot of things. But there are programs, and I know the county from time to time arranges grants for starting small businesses, and that's a good program, and it should continue. Just a couple words, and I'm going to take up a little time. Some questions were asked about are all the candidates here. Johnny Boyles, he's got a commitment at church he couldn't get out of, and I talked to him today about that, and he just couldn't get out of it. But let me say I've campaigned considerably with Johnny. He's a really good man. He's a lifetime Hoke resident, and he and I think pretty much alike on most things. We do have our differences, however, for the most part we agree. He's a fine gentleman. Some reference was made earlier about the land use plan is 17 years old and it's a 20-year plan. Right on. The problem is all the variables have changed and the plan hasn't. Nobody was expecting all the growth we've seen here with the Army moving all these commands in, and that means there are more businesses, there are small businesses, there are many different things that have been affected, and we need to attack those problems from this growth. And again, we can do it with plans. And I started off today by saying I believe in plans. I believe in long-range plans. I don't think that we have an adequate long-range plan here. And I believe in schools. We need schools. They're overcrowded. They expand not good schools. We need better schools. And with that, we need better education. That's going to bring business, and it's going to bring a better community. We really need that education. I'm sorry, what was that? You had 10 seconds, okay. I went over before, by the way, and I didn't realize we had a timer down there. So I'm down to 5, but my name is David Crump, and I really appreciate your vote.
I think your question was, are there any grant money for small businesses? Is that the question?
Well, that could be read into the question.
What was the question?
It was that, are there resources for assistance for small business owners? Did I capture the question correctly?
Okay, to answer that question, from time to time, and at the pleasure of the Commissioner's Board, we can provide funding for our small businesses in Hoke County. During COVID, actually during the heart of COVID, we actually approved $300,000 that we actually gave away to small businesses in Hoke County over, I think, might have been a 2-month period. The money went fast. A lot of the, as you remember, or you all recall, a lot of the businesses closed down with COVID. I mean, salons, barbershops, restaurants, hotels. It was a ghost town, not only in Hoke County, but all across our country. So we came together and we took $200,000 out of our fund, and we were able to help and try to do a little service for our small business community. And the money went fast. As a matter of fact, we had so many applicants that we probably spent another, I would say, $20,000 over that $300,000. So sometimes, from time to time, the commissioners can afford and allocate funding.
Certainly, we do have a revolving fund that the state gave us money several years ago, and we continue to use that revolving fund for our existing businesses. And what that is that we've actually helped with some of the downtown development that's going on. And what that is that money is loaned to the business, they pay it back without the interest, and then we take that money when it gets back into the fund and we revolve it out again. So that fund is available. The other thing that's available that's right close to us is down at UNC Pembroke. There's an incubator, a business incubator, and within that incubator, if you go down there with an ideal and a plan, and you need help putting that plan together, a business plan together, and to apply to the SBA, the Small Business Administration, for a loan, they will help you develop that down at that incubator that's downtown in Pembroke. Just look it up on the website for UNCP. A great way to get started with if you're an entrepreneur. The other thing that we need to understand too about our small businesses and our towns is that, we're working closely in helping revitalize and help with downtown Raeford, and we're trying to be good partners with the city council. And in turn, we're also working with the folks out in Rockfish. We've got sewer going out there now. We've given out letters of commitments to to developers, letting them know so that they can let other businesses from outside that want to come in down there. We give them the target date of when that sewer is going to be completed, and then folks can start planning now on how to develop and where to put those businesses at in Rockfish that help grow Rockfish into being a thriving community with all the traffic and everything that they have going on out there. That's going to be a great opportunity for small businesses to come into our county, because there's certainly enough traffic out there and enough people moving around to support small businesses. Listen, folks, I want to make this point right quick. Our sales tax in Hoke County at about 8 years ago was 8% of our revenue coming in. Today, it's 22% of our revenue coming in. Why? Because of all the small businesses that we've helped bring in. Thank you.
Not too much to add. I think out of all the questions that they hit the nail on the head. I would be interested in seeing if there are any other counties that provide funding for-profit businesses. That's a controversial thing in local government. typically governments fund nonprofits that are, like we help the domestic violence shelter, we help the fall festival, things of that nature, but it's not typically a role of county government to fund for-profit, unless there's a grant where we're serving as a pass-through that Commissioner Sutherland already spoke to. If we were to receive a grant, of course, we would definitely use it to fund businesses to support them. But I would be interested to see if there are any counties that utilize local dollars to help promote businesses. Every now and then I get a request, there's someone that wants to start a food truck. They asked me if there was any money the county could give them to help with a food truck. Legitimate question. At this time there's not, but it's something worth looking into to make sure that we're able to make sure that we have a thriving business community. As I finish my time left, I do want to rebuttal something. Whenever we talk about the $105 million, a gentleman said that he compared it to the E. Smith High School. They're looking to rebuild in Fayetteville. So $105 million versus $90 million. So that would imply that our school project is $105 million, right? So in the clarification, I got this. I got this. If you let me finish, Jesus. So in his explanation, yeah, you won't win that one. In his explanation, he said that he took a $78 million high school and added the $27 million aquatic center. Why not add the $31 million courthouse to it too? Make it $136 million. Why not add the administration building as well? An aquatic center isn't a school. I mean, is that not? I mean, it's hard. It's hard to really hear it. An aquatic center is a county-owned facility. Period. So to add those two to try to make it seem like it's a bigger project than what it is, it's a $78 million project. All right. So the aquatic center has nothing to do with the school. The Board of Education had asked us for it. We didn't approve it for them, and they won't own it. We will. That's a major difference.
I'd like to thank the candidates for their passion, because they have each eloquently shared with each of you here their perspective, and I've been given one last question from the audience, and I must say there may be a little duplication in the question, but in the interest of reading the question because it was presented, I'll present it to you and ask you to respond. The question starts off with a statement. Many rural areas have been told that their dirt roads are on the books to be paved or upgraded for over 15 years. As a county commissioner, what will you do to resolve this issue?
So that is a problem, and I'll tell you that the orphan roads in this county are just as tragic. These people, we have roads that emergency services can't get down. We have roads that schools can't get down. What we need to do is we need to work with the state to incorporate these orphan roads and get them brought up to standard. And also, we need to ensure that our developers for any of this new developments that they create, that they meet the standards for DOT, so that once these properties come online and people buy the house, the developer turns over the property to the homeowner, DOT can then move in and maintain those roads. Because that's some of the problems that we're having right now. There's an ordinance here in the county that all subdivisions of a certain size will be on paved roads. Well, I tell you, there's exceptions to every policy, whether it's sewer, water, whether it's roads. We have a standard. We should enforce the standard. But yes, I would work with Danny Britt, who's the chairman of the Senate Transportation Committee. He's already jumped in on the Rockfish traffic light and got that pushed up about 4 years ahead of schedule. He wrote that specifically into the budget. Garland Pierce, thanks to him, he voted for it. But with that being said, we need to work with the state to fix these roads. It's a disgrace in the county that we have people that can't be serviced by emergency and school services.
Most, but not all, of the houses being built today require good hard pavement to subdivisions anyway, small subdivisions require some type of pavement or good access to the highways. And it, for many years, that was neglected, hence we end up with orphaned highways, or rather orphaned roads. And the people that buy houses on those orphaned roads are just held hostage. They can't resell them, or they can't resell them for a reasonable amount. It's something that we need to tackle. And just a few years back, the state had a plan to do that. The Department of Transportation, well, the state had a plan to do that. And it was, probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and it was voted down. Probably too costly. And it's a real problem. We need to tackle it. We need to make sure it doesn't happen in the future. And we need to help the people that are being held hostage to those roads. So, and we can do that through the state. We need to get some legislation up there that helps those people out. And I'm for that, and I hope it happens soon.
Pursuant to North Carolina law, no county in the state of North Carolina, out of all 100 counties, can build roads. No county. You can Google that. No county in the state of North Carolina are allowed to build roads. State of North Carolina build roads. Now, if you have a dirt road in Hoke County, more than likely it's a private road. Private means it's owned by the residents that live on that road. It's up to the residents to take care of their own road, just like it's important for the residents to cut their own grass. It's their road. Now, the residents can come to the county and ask us to work out something with them. If all of them agree, then we might can do something by way of some type of agreement with the entire residents of that particular area. But pursuant to North Carolina law, as it stands today, Hoke County, Cumberland County, Moore County, Scotland County cannot build roads on private property. Those are private roads. The only way those roads can get up to standard would be the owners of that road getting it up to North Carolina DOT standard, and then DOT could take over that road once they make a petition to ask DOT to take over that road.
Our ordinances are in place, our subdivision ordinance, and that's for a reason, to stop from these roads from developing. A matter of fact, you can't develop down a road unless it's paved with over 5 houses. That's why our ordinances, our subdivision ordinance exists, is to protect people now from what happened to them back in the 60s and the 70s. And the people that it really happened to was poor people, a lot of my people that live out in the southern part of this county that have some of the most awfulest dirt roads that there is. And when I ran for county commissioner, I did my homework. And I didn't promise anybody that I'd get their dirt road paved, because I understood that that was the work of DOT. Back in the 70s, the legislation created DOT, and what they did is they extended DOT's right to rural roads and took it away from the county that was getting funded with money every year to do their own roads. Well, they took that away and put it in the hands of DOT, which is now the whole Department of Transportation. So as a county, we don't have any monies that we can put towards building roads or fixing roads, because we don't have any revenue coming in that we can use for that. Now, I'll tell you what, now we've heard a pretty big price tag here tonight on just building schools. And I'm going to tell you something about that. If you go to fix and think that you can fix all these dirt roads that are messed up and build all the new schools that we need to build, then our tax rate is going to be about $1.50 on the 100 is where it's going to be at, about $1.50, I guarantee you. But the point I wanted to make is that we did build a new middle school during my tenure, and during that time, we had to raise the property tax at that time to make sure that we could make that debt payment. We had to raise it 3 cents. And we didn't have any problem at all, because folks knew that that money was going towards that middle school. But if you build a new school without any dollars coming from the state or the federal government, you're gonna have to raise taxes. Thank you.
I have a rebuttal. You know, the reason I'm not married is because it doesn't matter if it's Beyonce. If she says something I disagree with, I'm gonna respond. I'll be honest, I've been put out of many houses for about women. Even when I was out of college, I didn't have nowhere to go then. It seemed like a man that had nowhere to go would be quiet. I wouldn't. I'll still be raising hands and find my way out in the streets. Anyway, this is being recorded, so you can go back and listen to it. The first gentleman said that the county needs to stop approving subdivisions where the roads don't meet DOT standards. Folks, you know, so every subdivision that we approve, if it's a certain size, like the chairman of the utilities board just said, they have to meet DOT standards, but we cannot force them into the DOT system. So we must understand the nuances. If you're going to build a neighborhood, you have the right to leave the roads private. It's a constitutional issue. You know, if we were to say, no, we're not going to approve your subdivision unless you agree that the state takes over your roads, we'll be sued in court. You know, so we have two different issues. Number one, we have a good grasp on the roads now moving forward. What the issues are people like Purvis Court. Probably the biggest dirt road with the most residents down there, where they do have issues. I've been down that road where the post office put stickers on the box saying, we're not going to deliver your mail. You have to come to the post office to get it. Knowing that some of the people there that live in Purvis Court can't get a ride to the post office to get checks that they need. You know, medications that are delivered to them that they need. So yes, there is an issue. And I'm tired of waiting on the state. We've been waiting on the state, and yes, the DOT doesn't listen to us. If they listen to us, they would have did the thing on 401 where you have to go up this way and turn around. You know, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that we get frustrated by, and this is one thing I think we all can agree on. You know, number one option that they have is we can levy a tax specific to them. You know, to do improvements like maybe crush and run, something that would allow them to be able to go down the road that would be cost efficient, where it won't cost them an arm and a leg. That's something I want to look into. I'm committed to looking into it and allowing them to make the decision if they choose to sign on to that levy.
Thank you. So, John. Come to the end of this forum. And we respect the passion that you've displayed. Now, if you would sum up for us in 90 seconds, if it were left up to me, I would extend, I don't have the personal privilege as a guest in someone else's home. That's right. But I would extend to you 90 seconds as opposed to 60. As opposed to 60. Yeah. To give you a chance to remind them, tell them, and remind them again in 90 seconds who you are and why.
Where are you starting?
Go ahead, Chris.
All right. My name is Chris Holland. And first off, I want to say, hey, I respect our county commissioners. I don't have anything against them personally. They're fine. They're leading the community. All right? They have a very hard job. I just have better ideas. I want to see our county grow in a different direction. And that's why I asked for you to vote for me. You know, I mean, it's simple. You know, I'm not a politician. I'm not going to tell you that building a high school with a swimming pool costs, $90 million is the same as building 105, whatever. That's a politician. That's not a contractor. I'm a resident. I'm a citizen. If I can build a school with a swimming pool and an athletic facility for $90 million, that's a better deal than building a high school and building a separate athletic facility for 105. I don't know how to make it more simple. You know, I talk plain. But I do have a passion. I think the county has great potential on the horizon. Let me help us get there. I ask for your vote. If you vote for me, we will have great education for our kids. We will have great benefits for our teachers. Our teachers are the backbone of the system, and we owe them our support and better support than what we're doing right now. All right, we entrust them 8 hours a day to guide our kids through life. You know, in addition to the parents, to reinforce our values, reinforce, you know, our teaching. We depend on those. That was 90 seconds already.
Yeah. That just
Vote
means
for
you
me.
talk good. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, it's David Frump, and I'm running for County Commissioner. I had a guy who used to work for me when I was in the Navy. He bragged about how I speak to the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. I've been all over the county, and I've spoken to everyone. I've spoken to so many people, and the theme that they tell me is we need a change. And there's only one way to get a change, and that's put other people in office. These gentlemen have done a job. I've disagreed with some of their things. Some of their things are great. I think that I would do more great things. And that's why I want to be the county commissioner. I would listen to you. I would listen to the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows, if you will. But I'll listen to you all. I walk around the county now. I talk to people. I listen. I know what they want. I know they want some change, and I'm going to bring a change, along with some of my colleagues. So I would appreciate your support, and even more than your support, I appreciate your vote in late October, early November.
Dr. King once said that life's most urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And I ask that you look at my record since 2014 and say what Harry Sutherland has been doing for others. We spent an hour or so on stage talking about some of the things we've done as a team, because that's what we were, a team, and we still are a team. So I'm not going to go through a roll call of all the things we've done. But since we've been in office, we have the best financial shape we've ever been in the history of Hoke County. We gave the sheriff department, law enforcement, a 15% increase in wages so that it can stay and maintain and recruit new officers. We get ready to build not one school, but 2 schools. We're building a Parks and Rec Center because we came up in Hoke County. The kids did not have a place to swim or go to Parks and Rec. They had to create that in their own backyards on the dirt roads of church, like I used to do, or in Lake Elizabeth. We worked hard to cross the lines with the Republicans in Raleigh to bring $31 million back, to build a courthouse. Why? Because we have defendants in jail for over a year waiting on their opportunity to be heard in court. We've been working. What have we been doing for others? You've seen our work. I think a poet once said, judge a man not by what he says, but by what he does. But judge the character of a man by what he does when nobody's looking. Vote for Harry Sutherland. I'm going to keep on delivering for you.
Well, I'm Tony Hunt. I think everybody knows that. Obviously, there's some philosophical differences in governing on this panel tonight. And I was sitting there just thinking, if I was sitting in the audience and didn't know any of these gentlemen up here, including myself, and I had a blindfold on, and I couldn't see anybody, but I just had to listen to the words that they were saying, I would almost think in my mind that the Democrats are on that side and the Republicans are on this side. For the simple reason of this, what we've heard tonight is build more schools. Schools are dilapidated. Fix dirt roads. We got to put more money there. We got to put money here. We got to put money there. And where does all this money come from? Where does this revenue come from? It comes out of your pocket is where it comes from. Because, trust me, 20 years experience on this board, you're not going to get an Amazon
not gonna get BMW, and you're certainly not gonna get Toyota in this county. We're getting what we're gonna get because we're growing small businesses, and we're putting up retails and different businesses that we're gathering sales tax from, that's helping grow this county. And listen, we're doing it out of those types of revenues and not trying to take the money out of your pocket that you're trying to live off of every day.
Thank you.
Vote for me, and we'll continue to take Hoke County in the direction it's headed.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
In closing, my name is Alan Thomas, and I'm running number one because there's still a candidate that can't wrap their head around the fact that a county-owned Parks and Rec aquatic center is not a school athletic facility. You know, I'm running because leadership. I was just in D.C. where I was asked to be on a panel to talk about county government. People come to Hoke County to teach other county commissioners how to do big things. Big things entail by having a $65 million budget in this county, but yet we have $150 million worth of projects either under construction or just recently built. That's big things. When you talk about grant money, going to a Republican legislature, even though we're all Democrats, and be able to work with them, shake their hand, look them in the eye, and they know that we're not talking about blue or red, we're talking about what's right for our people. That's leadership. So when you're talking about voting, you want to vote someone who can get something done. Amen. We've proven that we can get things done. What have you asked us for that we said, no, we can't do it? You want a school? It's coming. You know, you want a bowling alley? I do too, because I can bowl. I don't think anybody out here can beat me. It's coming. We are bored of can do. We've been getting things done time and time again. And with 4 more years, we're going to show you that, hey, we're just getting started. We have county employees here. Thank you for your service. We're going to look at your salary. That bonus is just the beginning. We're going to make sure you're taken care of. These folks, hey, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hey, my name is Alan Thomas. I appreciate your vote. Thank you so much.
Pat yourselves a hand.
And so you've heard it. And if you have more questions, please feel free to reach out to the candidates in your own respectful, respective way to get answers to questions that may not have been addressed here tonight. Ms. Jackie's going to come and provide us with everything instructions. And again, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to moderate this wonderful forum with all of this passion that has been shared.
Thank you, Judge.
We thank these 5 fine young men. They're all dressed up and ready to fight. I appreciate each of you. Chris, for your repeated passion. David, I just love your voice. And your wife, you know to say the right things.
Exactly.
Mr. Commissioner Sutherland, the hat is cool. I was wondering about that. But thank you for your contribution.
The moderator
tonight.
did an excellent job.
And Mr. Hunt, we thank you. And lo and behold, the youngster in the bunch, but still powerful and fierce in his convictions. We thank you. We thank you all. And can we give a round of applause for our moderator, Mr. Very good job. And thank you to each of you. And as always, I want to share just a little closing little quote. Something that I found in Huffington Post. And I thought it fitting to share as we close this evening. Community becomes even more powerful when it includes the entire community. That's right. When all members of the community pull together for a united cause, the power becomes unlimited. The change or transformation that occurs from the entire community is something greater than just what a small group of community or an individual can achieve. Communities are diverse. We have people of all ages and backgrounds who are skilled in different areas. By working together, having the old mentor the young, young inspiring old, and strong helping weak, we all give fully. Only together, as a community, can we give beyond our individual means. Participation is essential. So I say to you tonight, participation is essential. Vote, vote, vote. And whatever you do, always stand by your convictions. But always remember that as a community, we are one. But splinter, we can do nothing. All right? Would you agree with that? If you agree with that, stand to your feet and we're going to dismiss. And I'm going to ask, in another capacity, if Reverend Hunt will come and give us a dismissal. There will be no rebuttals.
Thank everyone for putting this on tonight. We know that it takes manpower to do something like this, or woman power.
Okay, all right.
We're glad that you've,
I'm sorry, before you go, I do want to thank y'all down here at the front, because you're already recording it. This is Alexa, my sister from another mother, from the Net New Rural Project, which is the collaborative of this event tonight. All right. Thank you.
let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for a wonderful day that you've given us. We thank you for health and strength. Lord, we thank you for these folks that collaborated together to bring this event to us tonight. We thank you for our moderator. We thank you for our audience, for people that love this county enough to give some time to come out and hear about the issues and to make an intelligent decision about who they'll vote for come November. Lord, we thank you for all of these panel guests here, all the candidates, and because, Lord, it takes special people that want to stand in these shoes and be criticized of some of the decisions that they make. We pray for all of them's health and strength, and we just pray tonight, dear God, that you will continue to bless all of us. Lord, lead us tonight home in a safe passage. Keep your hand of protection over us, and we'll be careful and mindful to give you the praise and all the glory. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mama. Well. Hey, girl.